was Bella, the son of a matriarch. Well, Crystal, it's nice to know it's slowly but surely learning all of these hyenas. It's quite a lot to take on, and hyenas are quite difficult to identify. I find them a little bit harder, but isn't that incredible camouflage? So difficult to see this. If you were driving along and you weren't paying attention, you would drive past this leopard without even knowing. He's really down in the grass, and at the moment he's sitting quite upright and quite alert, but you can imagine if he puts his head down how he's going to be almost impossible to see him. But maybe he can still see that hyena. I can't see any sign of the hyena, but maybe he can. The way that he's looking seems to suggest that he has seen something. But that is one of the most spectacular images now. We've got this light that has just broken through the clouds that is illuminating this grass, and this big male leopard just standing in it is something unbelievably beautiful. And that is about as close as you're ever going to get to a big male leopard. He's now just walking just in front of the car. I think he's watching that hyena to see if maybe the hyena has found some sort of food item, because I have seen it with male leopards where a hyena grabs some sort of food and they'll then come in and actually chase that hyena off and grab it then up into a tree. So I think that's what he's busy looking for. You can see he's sniffing around here, trying to see. He's been looking up into this big jackalberry that we have and has been trying to see if there's been any sign of food there. So, Sarah, that is a good question. She wants to know whether we will remove the carcass of an animal that has died of natural causes. Well, Sarah, at the moment, probably not. In these summer months, there's no mandate from the Sabi Sands to worry about any outbreaks of disease or anything like that. In the drier periods, then what we do is if we find a carcass that is just died and there's no visible sign of predation, then we do call the Sabi Sands in, and they will actually test the carcass for any signs of anthrax or foot and mouth or any of those diseases that tend to manifest during drier periods, anthrax being the worst of them. Now look, he's got his paws up, just cleaning up those claws, sharpening the tools. So in all likelihood, if let's say we came across and there was a dead impala here, then no, we wouldn't remove it. We would just leave nature to deal with it and clean it up. But in the drier times, you've got to be a little bit more careful. And the thing with carcasses of infected animals is, particularly things like anthrax, you'll find they'll be bleeding around the nose area. Also, there'll be distended stomachs. So you've got to be a little bit careful with that. But now we don't have to worry too much. Anthrax generally only manifests in drier times. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to follow this male any further. I think where he's going now is going to be impenetrable for vehicles, even for the Land Rover. I'm just trying to see, there's a big fallen over stump where he's walking, so I'm not sure, but I'm going to try and see where he goes. He's providing quite a lot of entertainment this morning. We've had him drinking, we've had him moving, and now chasing hyena and having a bit of hyena interaction, which is great. So if we can stay with him, that will be a bonus, but I think in all likelihood we are going to probably lose him in this wall of trees that we have behind us. And so I think what we're going to do is, while we try and reposition and try and move around and negotiate this thicket, let's go to Jamie, who's got a hoopoe on the ground.
A hoopoe on the ground in the middle of the road. There have been lots of lovely sightings with this particular bird. Oh, jeepers. Brian, did you see that? Or no, there were actually about 4 or 5 of them that just took off. The one's still in the road, but there was an entire family hidden in the grass that I didn't see. It's been lovely the last few days, last few weeks, watching them stroll around the road and probing deep beneath the surface of the soil in search of various grubs and insects and anything that might whet their appetite. It's completely frozen. Bride and myself this morning are walking on roads. That is the plan for the morning. We're walking on roads on the basis that neither of us really feel like the frantic de-ticking process that has to occur after every bushwalk. So this morning we are walking on roads and enjoying the ease of passage that they provide. It's so thick at the moment in this area, and the grass is basically up to my armpits in places. So it's a little bit safer as well to stroll along the roads, and that's exactly what this hoopoe's doing. Okay, not quite because it wants to avoid the ticks or because it wants to move through an easy spot, but the roads are nice and open, and that's why we've been seeing so many of them moving about on the roads. Oh, there he goes. Somewhere here was the clicking or the bill snapping of a red-crested korhaan. Just going to see if we can find it, although spotting it in this grass is going to be next to impossible. And don't forget to send through your questions on #SafariLive on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you all. Let us know if you are a new viewer, where you are from. Obviously, our regular viewers are always welcome to send through questions, but let us know where you're from. It's always lovely to hear exactly where our viewers are from. We've got such a wide-ranging audience, all the way from New Zealand to the opposite side of the globe. It'd be lovely to hear where you are from. Oh, goodness, look at the flowers. I've just gone completely blank on the name. Hold on, it'll come to me. It's the most common one. Oh, thank you very much, Rexon. Red Star Zinnia. I just had a moment. Very pretty. It's quiet here this morning. So quiet. It feels like the insects are all hiding away, the wind's blowing. Looked as though it was going to rain upon us, but it didn't. Thank goodness, Brian. Yeah. Thank goodness. I would have been very upset if we had to go back and sit in the tent for this entire time. Bit of panicum grass to keep me going for the rest of the morning. We're going to go and search for something exciting to show you, perhaps a snake. I don't know, I'm in a snake kind of a mood this morning. In the meantime, let's go and find out how Cheetah Plains is treating Brent.
Well, we've come down to the southern open area now, and we are literally being surrounded by the calls of the monotonous lark. I'm just trying to find one that's out in the open. Can you hear them? Toot, 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 toot. There it is. Just waiting for it to land. It landed in the grass. Darn it. Let's just try to find one that's perched up and calling. So actually the monotonous larks do a lot of calling while they're flying. And they're displaying at the same time, trying to find a girlfriend. Oh, he keeps flying behind us. I keep reversing. Irritating lark. We'll find another one. Swallows. There we go. Monotonous lark on top of that little leadwood. There we go. Calling very, very prominently. Did he fly already? Being tricky, these larks today. Okay, what else did we have? I saw a long-tailed shrike around here somewhere. You got him there on the small tree. I actually need to get a photo. This is not a bird I've ever seen on Safari Live before. How beautiful is that? Oh, off it goes. Now, that's a nice one for a test. Who can tell me? Oh, hang on. The birds are bountiful. So who can tell me what that bird with the long tail we just saw is, as we've got a raptor coming in? And it's another raptor I actually haven't seen this year on Safari Live, but we have seen before. That's a yellow-billed kite. Oh, that's another nice bird. But let's just watch that kite. See how it's cruising over the grassland, looking for insects, small rodents, etc. Oh, and you see the lapwings. Oh, we got more bird species there. Crowned lapwings bombing it. They've maybe got a nest or babies close by. Well, that's wonderful. Now, we saw that bird with the black bird with the long tail and the red throat. Who can tell me what bird that is? If you know the answer, hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV. I think this could be a new one for a lot of your bird lists. So I don't think I've ever put one on camera before since we've been here. Well, I've just got to catch up marking on the list. So what else do we see? Oh, lapwings. Crowned lapwing. Tick. We did the lark. Lapwing. And we got the mystery bird, which I'm not going to tell you just yet, but I know what it is. Oh, and there we go. And we've got, a bit of a battle going on. Come on, land. Where did it go? There. That's a more common one. Not the laughing dove, but there's a lilac-breasted roller above it and slightly to the left. Zoom. Right a bit. Right a bit more. Center frame. There we go. A lilac-breasted roller. Okay, let me just... rollers, European tick, and lilac-breasted tick. And it is not a grosbeck. What are you doing, Craig? You're breaking the car. Now, of course, while we are moving through the open plains of Cheetah Plains, and the birds are all over the place. Aha, Dina, well done, Dina. You are indeed correct. It is the red-collared widow bird. No, it doesn't want to turn. We'll just do it like that then. How's that light there, Craig? So there we go, the red-collared widow bird. Now in full breeding plumage, because when they're not breeding and not trying to impress ladies, they are very dull and brown. So there we go, red-collared widow bird. What a good one. That is definitely my first time seeing that on Safari Live, so I'm sure it's a new one for you. If it is a new one for you, let me know. I would love to hear from you. Okay, so many birds, so little time. Which way to go next? Let's go straight. And don't worry, I haven't forgotten about the whodunit. I'm just slowly collecting all the dung species to do just now. No sign of the Cheetah brothers for a while now. I was really hoping they might be out here on the open plains today, but alas, no such luck. Just monotonous larks, red-collared widow birds, yellow-billed kites, crowned lapwings, and more monotonous larks making a monotonous noise. No African pipits though. Yes. Larry, hi Larry, is wondering. Leopard. Is wondering what is the rarest bird I've ever seen. Well, it depends on where you are, because some birds are common in some areas, but they might be very rare in other. But I think overall, I don't have the big bird book for the rest of Africa here. Well, it's when you see them, they're not rare, but they nest in such small places. It is a type of swallow, and they nest with bee eaters, and a bee eater that's also quite rare called a rosy bee eater would be definitely one of them. And it's called, so if you guys have Google, I suggest you do this. Google rosy bee eater and Congo river martin. Those are two of the rarest birds I've ever seen, and probably African pitta is another one. So now we're on the crest and we're going to drop down. Well done to Fuzzman Sparkles, who's 8 away from 200 species live on his bird list, and that is 192, the red-collared widow bird for Fuzzman Sparkles. In that rain tree over there, the tall skinny one standing by itself, there we go, on the right hand side. Keep going, a little bit lower, a little bit to the right. Oh, it's disappeared into those leaves. One of the fly catchers, I didn't see which one, it was just a quick glimpse, but I can't see it now. Let me just try and move forward a bit. The flies are bad down here today. They're the type of flying creature we don't like finding. But we don't even have to look for them, they find us. Oh, I can hear a red-crested kohan calling, but somewhere in this very long grass, so I don't think we're going to be able to see it. So I'm going to keep looking for birds to keep that bird list ticking away to get to the magical number 100 before the end of the sunrise safari on the 12th of March. It seems like Mvula has managed to go give Tristan the slip. Let's see if he's going to find him again.
Indeed he has. He went into an impenetrable fortress of fallen over trees and thickets, and the elephants during the droughts have made an absolute mess in that little drainage system, so there is no way to carry on following him without doing some irreparable damage to the poor Jig-Jag. So we're going to unfortunately leave him and let him carry on his way and see if maybe this afternoon we'll try and get him. He was generally going towards Vuyatela access and quarantine clearings, that side, so I'm sure we'll be able to find him this afternoon. We'll make it our mission to do so. I think this afternoon I might be walking on their toes, but it's amazing to see the hyena tracks are actually coming back along the leopard track, so you can see how the hyena followed that leopard in. So William, funny enough, we were chatting about this just now, Lamech was asking me the exact same question as to whether the leopard would kill and eat that hyena. Now, for a male leopard, he's got to be very careful if he wants to go after a hyena, because one bite from that hyena can damage one of those legs, and the leopard is all on his own, so that's almost like a death sentence to be injured. So generally, no, they will not go after the hyena. They just do a display of force and growling and hissing and a charge at this hyena to try and keep it away, but they definitely don't hunt hyenas. There's a huge risk involved of going after a hyena. And that was a male. Even though it's a big male, he still knows that the male, he can dominate a lot more than a really big adult female. So the male hyena is a little bit smaller and easily chased away. But in terms of if he found a dead hyena, would he eat it? Probably not. I've seen dead hyenas and really nothing touches them. I've seen leopards walk right past them and sniff and then carry on. So for some reason they don't enjoy it or don't like the taste, and so hyenas actually don't get consumed that easily. Now, I'm going to try and see if I can carry on with my earlier endeavors and try and see if I can find any sign of these wild dogs or lions. Now, I haven't heard of anybody picking up any tracks for the wild dogs, but the lions were around, and I heard that there were some tracks around cheetah cut lines, so we're going to slowly head that way. So, James, you're wondering if I have a favorite Mvula sighting? Sure, now I've got to think back a little bit. My sightings were all around the early days, so hello Mike, how you doing? So I'm just trying to think now of really good ones that I had. I've had some interesting ones with him. I had one with Shivambalana back in the day when he sat and he shared a kill with Shivambalana. So Shivambalana killed this duiker, and then Mvula came along and we all thought he was going to chase him and steal this carcass, but he didn't. He actually just ended up sitting, and they shared it together, and they were even at one point sitting in the same tree with the carcass between them, which was quite amazing. I've seen him, probably one of the most incredible leopard hunts I've ever seen was on Chitwa airstrip, and Mvula was stalking along, and we got a flat tire and we managed to change the tire, and as we changed the tire and we pulled into this big open clearing off the airstrip, Mvula was just coming out into the clearing, and he almost hunted like a cheetah. And I remember he did it quite a few times. What he would do is he would just chase and cause complete chaos amongst the impalas, and the impalas would bombshell everywhere, and this leopard would hunt just like a cheetah would. He would sprint from a long way away, and on this particular occasion he sprinted in, and one of the impalas made the wrong move and bombshelled straight towards him, and he managed to grab it and pull it down, and then a whole clan of hyenas rocked up. I think there was about 7 or 8 of them, and they came in and they had this huge fight over this male impala, and Mvula was trying to keep them at bay, and they were pinning him down, and there was just absolute chaos, and eventually the impala got stolen and poor Mvula went without anything. But just to see him hunt in that way is completely different to what we would expect a male leopard to hunt like, and it was definitely a first time that I've seen a leopard running across open areas like a cheetah at full sprint chasing down an antelope. So it was really, really great. Now, on my left hand side here we have a whole tree full of birds, and I think that they are Amur falcons, but I just want to have a little look with my binoculars. You see them, Lamech, on the dead tree over there? So we're going to just have a little look and see, but I think they are the last of the Amur falcons before they start heading back north again. So they've been here for the summer months. They're in that tree. There you go. You can see lots and lots and lots of them. Now, against this grey sky that we have today, they appear to be just little dark blobs, but through my binoculars I can see that they are definitely Amur falcons, and they're all just sitting, I'm sure, waiting for a little bit of sunshine to be able to ride some thermals and to be able to hunt. They also know that at the evenings at the moment, because of the amount of insects that we've got, particularly termites like Jamie had that are active, there will still be termites that will be hatching after the rains, and that's what they feed off mostly, is whenever we get these termite hatches, you find these Amur falcons coming in and grabbing them. So that's a nice find. Lots and lots of them on that tree there. Right, so we're going to carry on, see if we can find any sign of these lions, and while we do that, let's go across to Jamie and see what she's up to on her walk.
sounds as though Tristan has got some exciting moments planned for you. I was thinking about my favourite Mvula moment, and my favourite Mvula moment was shared with Brian, who of course is on camera with me this morning. Brian, that was an epic sighting, wasn't it? It really was. It was when we were doing our June Father's Day, yes, was June Father's Day TV shows, and there was all of that drama with Sindile and Shadow's new cub, their new cub. She obviously has 2 new cubs now, but we were sitting there and we had a discussion because we were sitting with hyenas scavenging off a carcass, and Brian and I were sort of saying, you know, it doesn't really compete with the drama that was happening with Sindile, and all of a sudden Mvula came out of nowhere. And I think it's my favourite sighting, first of all, because it showed just how tough he really is, because he came in and he literally chased the hyena right off the carcass, and also just because it was such a lovely surprise. We had no idea he was there. I'm pretty sure I turned around and looked at Brian with an open mouth for a while. Where did it come from? It was amazing. It was such a lovely sighting. Right, so we're here where we had the wild dog, the lovely, lovely wild dog sighting yesterday evening with the elephant. And it was an interesting moment where all of a sudden you've got an elephant bull coming out of nowhere and nowhere really to go, and all the wild dogs lying next to your car going, this is nice. We feel safe. We feel nice and safe right next to you. And there was this elephant coming to charge us. Anyway, it was interesting. But what I wanted to show you, because I think we neglect this sort of lesson, and now that I wanted to show you, the sun is gone, but we sometimes take for granted that our regular viewers know exactly what elephant tracks look like. And it's a really nice track to have a look at when the sun is out. But the sun is not out, Brian. They are basically invisible. I'll have to draw them for you. This is fresh-ish elephant tracks. So they're on top of my vehicle tracks from last night when I came through. And it's quite a small elephant. This is a breeding herd that walked through here. So the front track is over here, beautifully round, because elephants, like a lot of mammals, carry most of their weight on the front half of their body. And then we've got the back track over here, and this is for our new viewers. I know most of our older viewers will know this particular thing about elephant tracks, but the back track actually forms something almost like a teardrop. And if you look really closely, you can see the scuff mark where the elephant dragged its foot just a little bit, and that basically forms an arrow. Ooh, stick. That basically forms an arrow and tells you exactly where that elephant is going. So this breeding herd is walking straight to the west. Now, I think it's quite old, and usually you can tell the freshness of the track, especially in this kind of a substrate, this kind of surface, just by seeing how clear the lines are, because they're these beautiful patterns of wrinkles in an elephant's track, and they're not crisp. You can see, if you compare it to, say, my track, which is over here, my shoe track, you can see how crisp and clear the outlines of the print are. And that tells us just how old that elephant track are. There we go. Ash was wondering about how you tell the difference. It depends upon the soil that you're looking at, and it depends upon the weather conditions that you've had, Ash. So it's quite a circumstantial thing. If it is a very fresh track, the outlines are beautifully crisp and clear. But sometimes you get really nice, soft, fine sand that keep hold of the track for much longer than you might otherwise expect it to. And on a nice, still few days when there's no wind, you immediately have a false impression of just how fresh that track is. One of the tricks that we all utilize as guides, if you see a track and you're not quite sure how fresh it is, you step next to it and have a look at how clear your footprint is and compare it to that of the track. But if it's a windy day, if I step here, if it's a windy day, in the space of a few hours, here you go, basically obliterated. So it's very much circumstantial as to how fresh a track is. If it's on a main road, and also makes a huge difference because you've got lots of vehicles coming past and spraying dirt over the top. So it's tricky. It's a tricky exercise. And just along this intersection here, this, by the way, is the famous tree that Brent fell out of. It's very funny. We were watching it last night again, just for fun. Watching Brent come tumbling out of this tree. And we come along here. We've got the wild dog tracks as well. I'm going to try and find you. Of course, the sun disappears as I want to do a tracking segment. Can still smell them. Can you smell them, Brian? Can smell wild dogs still. I can smell wild dogs still in this area. No wonder that elephant was so upset with them. When you're so reliant on a sense of smell. The wild dog tracks are here. As to whether or not you can see them, Brian, it's next to impossible, isn't it? It's not really... I was going to try and show you them properly, but they're almost invisible in this light. They basically just dance in the sand, which is what happens on cool and cloudy days. Let me see if maybe some of the sand is a bit finer here. Not really. No. Anyway, that's where the elephant came out of. And we were sitting right here with the dogs all around us. And absolutely nowhere to go. We couldn't really duck into the bush off to my left because there's trees. We were really rather stuck. You know, it's very high, Brian. Yeah. It could actually have been quite a nasty fall. Jeepers, that's high. I don't think I've ever properly looked at just how high that is. And give you a perspective as to just how high it was. Looked at just how high that is. And give you a perspective as to just how high it was. The tag one-word tweet. How do these pepper ticks make you feel, Brian?
Sad.
Sad. How are you looking?
Yeah,
You're okay.
I haven't looked yet.
Oh no, Brian, I'm going to grab it from you. It's a proper big one. And where'd it go?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Maybe
I think
someone else.
it was definitely a tick. I think it dropped into Brian's gaiters. Oh no. I'm sorry, Brian. I was trying to save you from it. It was a big tick. It wasn't even a pepper tick, it was a big tick. Would you like some panicum grass, Brian?
Yeah, please, why not?
Here we go. That's for Brian. It's the nicest grass that we have out here. And eating the seeds is like breakfast cereal. So while we chomp on our breakfast, our sad, meager breakfast, let's go over to Tristan and find out where he is and how his search for different animals is going.
Well, Jamie, that panicum at the moment is really tasty, so I'm quite envious. Actually, I think I should get myself some for breakfast. It's, after the rain, got lots and lots of sweetness in it. So our search for various animals so far is turned up very little. We haven't seen too many things, but we did find tracks for those mating lions from last night. So those of you that were not with us, we had one of the Birminghams and one of the Nkuhumas mating, and found their tracks coming south down Cheetah cut line, but somebody had already driven over it, so it's difficult to see now where they went, whether they came back into Djuma or if they went into Torchwood. So I'm just checking here because there's a pan not too far away called Gwari Pan. Now sometimes they maybe will head there for a bit of water after frenzied mating activity. So I'm just checking slowly just to see if maybe there's any sign of them coming here. Now there's nothing at the pan itself that I can see, so I'm just looking for their footprints. So far nothing that I can see. Now they do like to spend time in Torchwood as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if they headed towards first or second rock up that way. which is two prominent rocky outcrops that the lions like to go to and like to lie on. So I would imagine that's maybe where they've gone. But we'll check Buffelshoek Dam as well, just to make sure there's nothing there. I did check the cut line and scanned along the fire break, so they're not that way. So if they are not at Buffelshoek Dam, or there's no sign of them, then they must have gone east into Torchwood. There's definitely no lions have walked here. The section that we're on now, the road is actually quite sandy, so we would be able to see the tracks quite clearly. Last night where I left them was very close to where we found those tracks, so I would imagine that was from early last night, so they could be quite far away by now. Even yesterday afternoon they were fairly sleepy, but they still covered quite a bit of distance during the afternoon. Just those getting up and mating and moving, and getting up, mating and moving tends to go a little bit further than you actually think. So my hunch was correct though, that they came south. I'm sure they heard those other two males calling, and they decided that they are not going to stick around and have to have competition for the mating rights, and so that's why I think they've come south and headed east into Torchwood, away from those two others that were calling. But other than that, it's been a fairly quiet morning. There's been a few birds that have been chirping along, which has been quite nice. Good for 100 birds. Like I say, that's quite a tall order, but if anyone can do it, Brent can do it, so I'm sure he'll get there. Brent doesn't 30 seconds, which is a game we have in South Africa, which is basically a general knowledge quiz, and Brent was on the losing side. We had all the brain power on our side, and Brent was not very happy about the fact that he lost. But it's okay, Brent, we'll have another round again, and we'll give you some of the older generation, because 30 seconds has got lots of history in it. And so Brent was struggling because he was with all the youngsters of the camp, and they had no idea who half of these questions were or places, and so it was quite entertaining to watch Brent's frustration at listening to the answers coming out from various individuals. Alright, so let's keep going and see if there's any sign of these lions. I don't think that they are here. I think they've gone into Torchwood. But while we do that, let's go to Jamie, who I believe has got a slithering reptile for all of you.
Most obliging slithering reptile. Brian, I did not expect that to stay still as long as it did.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That lizard dashed across the road and then promptly stayed completely still. And look at the way that it's using the camouflage to pretend that it's basically a stick. It's amazing. Look how close it's letting me get. The first time I've ever actually had this opportunity, or slightly overestimated its level of obligingness. I don't know where it went. Oh, it's here. Brian, it's just here. Still, it's frozen again, but just slightly to the side of where it was. Can you see it there? There we go, well done. There we go. That's truly phenomenal. That very seldom happens. Bushwalk, of course, gives us this opportunity, because these are the sorts of things that when you're driving around in a vehicle, there is absolutely no way you're going to spot. Now, you'll see them running across the road, but once they're gone, and you kind of dismiss it. But on foot, you get to enjoy these special moments. I wonder how long it would take for us if we just sat here for it to get used to our presence and start to behave as it would as if we weren't here. By the way, just on the subject of what Tristan was saying, that 30 seconds loss was hilarious. It was very funny, wasn't it, Brian?
Yeah,
30 seconds, for those of you that are unfamiliar, is articulate. For those of you in the UK, it's basically the same board game. It's perfectly still. I don't actually want to get any closer. I'm going to peep over Brian's shoulder so I can see what you're seeing. Its colours are astounding. You don't realise the intricacy of the patterns on the scales. Now, looking at reptiles, Rebecca, you want to know what kind of snakes are the most common on this reserve. What did I say the most common snake is out here? Probably bush snakes. Probably a variated bush snake. Those are beautiful snakes. They often get mistaken for a boomslang. They are not boomslangs. They're completely harmless. But it's a very common bright green snake with black dots on it. Black mambas are actually quite common as well. We see them relatively regularly. Fortunately for us, and despite their reputation, they're actually quite nervous snakes, so they're usually moving away from us. We see black mambas quite regularly. I want to say puff adders, just because typically puff adders are very, very common, but I haven't seen that many puff adders out here. How many puff adders have you seen, Bebop?
I don't think any. Maybe
Don't think
one.
any. Yeah. We had one at the beginning of the TV show series when we were driving around in the rain.
Only one.
It's only one. And that's pretty much it. And typically, puff adders are quite common. They're usually a snake that you see quite regularly because they're quite slow and quite, I don't want to call them lazy, but they're reluctant to move. They call it, what did Steph call it? The 3-bite snake. No, it was Brent. The 3-bite snake. If you're the third person in line, you might get bitten by it just because they are so reluctant to move. Interestingly enough, studies have shown recently that puff adders actively hunt. We didn't necessarily interpret their behavior that way. So they use their tongue as a lure. Slide past the cars the other day. What else do we get regularly? A shield cobra was our special sighting. That's very unusual. What other snakes have we had? Spitting cobras and snouted cobras are quite common, especially around houses, because they like to, obviously, houses, food, rodents, snakes. So it's quite common to get them around there. What other snakes have we had in camp? We had that beautiful East African shovel-nosed snake. That was the one that resulted in Connor launching himself backwards away from the fire the one day. It was beautifully executed and highly entertaining to watch. What other snakes have we had? Red-lipped herald. We've had quite a few of as well in the bathrooms. And the other ones we've caught. I feel like I'm missing one very obvious species. We hardly ever see pythons. Lou wants to know what was the snake that gave Brent a fright. Let me tell you something. It gave me more of a fright. I was having a nap, and apparently a snake was crawling into bed with me. And Brent went to lie down and discovered the snake next to my head. Fortunately, he came to my rescue by leaping to the other side of the room and shouting obscenities at it. It was a lovely way to wake up. Very entertaining. Nothing like waking up eye to eye with a snake. That was a bush snake. Brent keeps saying it's a sand snake. It wasn't a sand snake, it was a bush snake. It was a variegated bush snake. Brent disagrees though. Neither of us had actually seen it properly, which resulted in us, sunglasses on, standing on the bed with a broom, trying to get our shoes out of the way from underneath a shelf so that we could try and work out what it was. Ideally, we didn't really want to go sticking our hand in there until we discovered exactly what it was. And of course the sunglasses, because of spitting cobras. We had seen a spitting cobra in the house not too long before that. So we were desperate to avoid the cytotoxic venom being sprayed in our eyes. Nobody really wants that, do they, Brian?
No,
No,
not a good time.
not a good time. James, you say that the lizard that we saw was perhaps an ornate sandfelt lizard. Definitely a sandfelt lizard. You're absolutely right. It's much easier for you to send through screenshots for me to have a look and identify later, because I wanted to try and get closer to it, but every time I did, it dashed off and I can't quite see the view that you see. I think you're right. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it was. And sandfelt lizards are very good. The way that they run across the roads and across the sand, they're very good at imitating meloid beetles in the way that they move. And that's really hard to imagine, but they have a way of adopting a posture. They run quite sort of high on their legs. Their legs are quite straight as they run across the sand, and they keep them quite stiff. And for some reason, it really does look like a beetle, like a meloids, blister beetles. It looks like something that will give you a really nasty blister due to acid expulsion. And that's one of the ways that they defend themselves, essentially, is by imitating a beetle that is very unpleasant. So of course you get all sorts of mimicry out here. That is just one of the ways that you've got sort of interspecies. They're not even in the same family group, but there's one that imitates another. I think you're right. I absolutely think you are right about the identification of that lizard. But I'll double check with the screenshots just to make absolutely sure, because I'm quite a lot further away from it. Joy, you want to know what the biggest snake is in the bush? Far and away, a rock python. We don't see them all that often, which I find quite sad, because they really are truly beautiful snakes. But they can get 4 meters, 5 meters, 6 meters even, and this big. So they really are very, very large snakes. They're very heavy snakes. They're very powerful snakes. Not venomous in any way. They've got fixed teeth, so they don't have fangs. They've got fixed teeth in their jaws, which doesn't mean you should go playing with them just because they're not venomous, because they will bite you and it will be sore. But they are constrictors, like a boa constrictor, like an anaconda, and so on. I'm going to puzzle over what Rex has left for me. In the meantime, let's go and have a look at what Tristan's found in terms of tracks.
So we have a very interesting track. As I was going along looking for signs of these lion tracks, you can see sitting there, or crossing the road, is probably one of the rarest animals that we have out here. So I'm going to get out and show you exactly where the tracks are. But these are tracks for an aardvark. Now, if you have a look here, the tracks that I'm talking about are these ones. It's the one, and there's the other one over there. So you can see the toes coming forward, and the toes coming forward here, and then the two little marks at the back. So this is where an aardvark crossed the road, and it actually goes along and eventually goes all the way down the road and heads along, and you can actually see where the tail is dragged. Now these aardvarks are not very common here at all, so it's really good to see the tracks, and maybe we'll have to spend some time out here in the late evening and see if we can find this aardvark that's making these tracks. They often are a little bit shy. Ones than I've seen alive. Sorry, Lou, can go again with the name. So Lou's asked me a question, but it broke up a little bit. I got the Armani part, but I didn't get Alani and Amani. You want to know what the best soil conditions are for tracking. Well, what we are on at the moment, this soft, sandy, fine-grained soil is by far the best. It really shows the track very clearly. As you saw with those aardvark impressions, they're quite deep in the sand, and so very, very defined. If you go into riverbed sand that's a little bit softer and there's no hard base underneath, the tracks become a bit sort of, I don't know how to explain this, but they almost the edges fall away and they become just sort of pug marks in the sand, whereas on the road when there's a harder base with a fine covering sand on top, the tracks really are very defined and very easy to spot. So these kind of roads that we're driving on now, where it's got this fine sand on a hard base, is the perfect kind of road to track on. So here, if the lions had walked here, we would have seen the tracks very, very clearly. It would have been quite easy to see that they'd come here. So they definitely haven't. And I actually heard on the radio just now that somebody has picked up their tracks inside Torchwood and going southwards. So we will not be able to find them. But I am going to carry along Cheetah cutline in case. You never know. Maybe they've turned back, coming towards our side. It does happen from time to time.
At us over a little bush. Of course, warthog are quite often visually challenged because of their height. That's a nice big male.
Towards our side. It does happen from time to time.
Tusks peering at us over a little bush. Of course, warthog are quite often visually challenged because of their height. That's a nice big male today. Such a beautiful spot. It's a lovely open area here, and you can see the big marulas. And there's an impala on top of the termite mound there. Lots of eyes to spot potential predators. Now, I'm trying to see, to keep the bird list going, if I was hoping there was going to be an oxpecker on one of these animals. And there were some on the warthog, but it looks like they flew off. Here's that big pig. Definitely. Yeah, boy. Years old. My gran was quite an avid birder, so I started birding with her on the farm, and my dad is also a very avid birder. So no, it's not something that's new. I've always enjoyed birding. I've crawled through many a thicket to see a rare species, and so there's about 2,300 bird species in Africa, and I'm lucky enough to have seen over 1,500 of them. So a few more to go. Mostly just missing the Sahel region, and the Sahel, bear with us. Okay, so while we go through the gremlin dips, let's go see what Tristan is up to. He's definitely not catching up to my bird list.
No, we are not, unfortunately, Brent, but we haven't decided that we are actually competing, so I'm not sure that it counts, but we'll have a look. Now, I'm just seeing some tracks on the road here. I just want to have a look. Yeah, so they're tracks for a female leopard. It looks like maybe Tundi and the cub, but there's tortoise tracks over the top of it, so they are not very fresh at all. They're right up against the car here, so it's going to be difficult to see, but these are obviously the same tracks that Brent had this morning. Now, I know Brent saw some tracks for Tundi crossing over into Torchwood, and so I'm sure she's popped out here and then gone back into Torchwood, because I've just heard the guys on the radio say that they've located her in Torchwood, so that means that we will not follow those tracks. They were from early hours of this morning, I would imagine. So the reason why I'm on Cheetah Cutline right in the south now is I'm going to pop in at the termite mound and see whether or not Gwen, the hyena, is here, or if her warthog is still there and has still kept her evicted. Now, there is a cuckoo that is sitting on a branch over there. Now, hopefully it's going to stay still. Now, I just want to see exactly which cuckoo it is. It looks like possibly a common cuckoo. I can't see now. Cuckoo that is sitting on a branch over there. Now, hopefully it's going to stay still. Now, I just want to see exactly which cuckoo it is. It looks like possibly a common cuckoo. I can't see now. Possibly a common cuckoo. I can't see now. Birdless, so Brent slowly but surely will catch up. Like I say, I don't think we've agreed upon a fact that we were going to do a bird challenge this month, but we'll have to negotiate when I get back, because I feel like Brent has had an unfair advantage and start to this month's birding challenge. And also, going to Cheetah Plains is always a good place for birds. So many birds in that open area that we won't get anywhere near this area, that it's a good place if you're doing a bit of birding to go and spend time. Also, it's very pretty that side, so a nice place to go. Now, like I say, before I got distracted with the cuckoo, I'm going to check to see if Gwen or the warthog is in the mound. It's like a lottery going here. You never know what you're going to get inside this termite mound. I'm hoping that Gwen maybe has made her way back. I feel sorry for Gwen, shame. She's got these tatty ears and she's all beaten up. So it would be nice if she caught a break and the warthog had decided to leave and give her back her mound. But I think with the warthog being there for such a number of days, I don't think she's going to come back to it. Now, I don't see any sign of anything. I'm just going to come up slowly, because if it was Gwen was here and she has her young ones are a little bit flighty and a little bit skittish. So I just want to check, but no, I don't think anybody is home. It looks like we are completely empty inside there. So no sign, and there's no new evidence of anything going in and out. At the entrance to that hole, there is very little sign of any movement there, so I don't think anyone's been here. In and out. At the entrance to that hole, there is very little sign of any movement there, so I don't think anyone's been here.
Thick knees? Oh, Craig, your friend is dancing for us. So Craig had a friend on his tripod that he's passed to me now, who's doing a weird dance on the dashboard. It's a little grasshopper. There he is, dancing now. The dancing hopper. He's either dancing or stretching, getting ready to leap. Oh, very cool little creature. Okay, the hippos are all quite far away from us this morning. So they're right in that far corner. Oh, quickly, sorry, Vlad's out. Oh, he just went down again. But he was doing something quite strange there. It looked like he was attacking a fish. For those of you who don't know who Vlad is, there's Vlad. Vlad the Impaler, the largest crocodile at the Chitwa waterhole. Hi, Vlad. What are you eating today? Watch out, Impala. It's a big croc. It's probably over 4 meters. In the water at the moment. There's some Egyptian geese next to an impala off to the left. I think Vlad's watching that impala. Still quite far from the water though, unfortunately for you, Vlad. There we go. There's a single impala and some Egyptian geese grazing. No waterbuck today. There's normally always waterbuck here, but not today. Trying to see if I can spot a lapwing. Well, Andy and Julia are wondering whether alligators and crocodiles could crossbreed. No, they can't. They are completely different species. And Vlad's gone under the water. Let's just go across to the side. Where have I lost sight of them now? Ah, there. On that little, just opposite there, I'm pretty sure I could see some lapwings. Down on the ground. And to the left. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going quite a way. Around that little bay. Keep going. Up a little bit. And keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. There we go. Blacksmith lapwing. Up on the bank. I was hoping for a few more bird species here, although we did get the cattle egret, which is not a common one in this area. Okay, well, not much else happening. Very quiet morning in general. Luckily, well, Tundi, we actually did track. I forgot to tell you about that. We tracked Tundi. Oh, what have you spotted, Craig? An African fish eagle, another nice bird. Where's it got? There it is. You can see how white the sky is behind the fish eagle. The fish eagle almost merges into it. Well, that's another nice bird for the morning and for the list. I wonder how many we're on now. Let's have a look. Fish eagle. We need to tick off fish eagle. And where's the fish eagle? Which eagle is it in? Eagle 1, eagle 2, or eagle 3? Let's try eagle 3. It's not in eagle 3. Okay, well, I'm going to tick off the birds we've seen here quickly. While we do that, let's go see how Jamie's faring on foot.
Sounds as though Brent's having a great time trying to reach 100 birds by, when was it? The end of the month?
I think before you actually go on leave.
Before we go on leave? Oh yeah, that's a good point, Brian. We're on leave on the 12th. Yep, there we go. So it's 100 birds before the 12th of March. Could be interesting. In the meantime, Brian and I haven't seen any birds, have we, Brian? No birds. No, nothing actually, really. We had a tiny, tiny baby lizard, but it had dashed away off into the vegetation and we lost it. So we are slowly but surely making our way back towards camp and just keeping an eye out on the off chance that perhaps Mvula decides to stride in here. And one of my favorite Mvula stories was not one of mine. It was Scott and Nikki, back in the day when Scott and Nikki were still here. And Nikki thought she saw a leopard and she went to go and have a look. And she found herself about 2 meters away from Mvula, just staring at her through the vegetation. He's such a lovely leopard to walk. I was stopped for a grasshopper, who's giving us a really... you horrible creature. I'm trying to find it for you, Brian. I've got it, but it is being obtuse, to say the least. I hear that Brent has been showing you a dancing caterpillar on his car, or in his car. There's a beautiful caterpillar here as well. Oh, sorry, it was a dancing grasshopper. I thought it was a caterpillar. I appear to be under a misconception there. Have a look at this. Isn't it beautiful? Recently hatched, I would say, just judging by the fact that there were 2 of them. As to which particular caterpillar this is, I'm not sure. Care to hazard a guess, Brian?
No, I have no idea.
I have no idea either. Where'd it go? Where are you going, buddy? It's getting harder to hold him still. Sorry, Brian. Amazing luminous green stripes. Sorry, let me just try and keep it still here. So pretty. Well, and it just defecated on me. Oh well, serves me right. Serves me right for disturbing it. There was a second one somewhere here as well. I'm just going to pop it back exactly where I found it, because of course caterpillars feed off certain types of plant. So I'm going to leave it be to feed off whatever it's feeding off. No idea what it turns into. I'd have to go back to reference books and have a look and see which particular winged creature it would eventually metamorphose into. Speaking of the daily life of termites, I was thinking about what a strange feeling it must be to be a caterpillar as well. Your instinct tells you. I was thinking, it started, the whole question about that started in my mind with the tadpoles. What it must be like to be something that is aquatic and then all of a sudden has this instinct to go onto land. And I was wondering what it must be like to be a caterpillar and have this instinct to weave a cocoon, basically turn into goo, and then reform again. And obviously they don't think like we do.
Obviously better to come here early in the morning and late in the afternoon, but I got a bit sidetracked with Mvula this morning, so these things happen. I don't know if Brent checked here. Lou, did Brent check here this morning? So no, Brent did not come to the hyena den this morning, so I think it's worth having a little look and seeing what's going on and seeing whether or not we have some hyenas at the den. Like I say, the road is just tracks for, but definitely no sign of any little hyenas at this stage. So I think what we're going to do is carry on. We're not going to sit and stare at a black hole for too long, especially if we know there's no adult around. Then it means that we don't want to put any undue pressure on the den site or for any reason make them want to move. Nope, nothing on the backside either. So Amy, you want to know how much a fully grown hyena weighs? Well, Amy, I'm just going to have to just quickly negotiate this archway. Just be careful there. Lamek, maybe you can just drop down the aerial quickly while we go through. So Amy, a fully grown hyena and big adult female, probably in all likelihood weigh around 100 kilograms, 110. So that's about 220, 240 pounds. So very, very large. The males are slightly smaller. They come in at about 70, 80 kilograms. So they're a little bit lighter. But yeah, a big female is heavier than a male leopard. So they are quite big and strong and powerful. So it's not an animal that you want to take on, that's for sure. Especially the big females. I've seen them go after lions and leopards many times, and their bulk is what gets them through it. It's like we saw this morning with Mvula. The male hyena is just not as intimidating as the female. The females are so much more bulky that they have the ability to be able to intimidate both lion and leopard a lot more. I actually had an amazing sighting of Anderson the one day. He was sitting, minding his own business. He had a carcass in the tree and he was very relaxed and just having a nice nap. And there were hyenas around, but given that Anderson is one of the biggest male leopards we have out here, he wasn't too worried about the hyenas. He thought, well, my food's up in the tree, I'm just sleeping, they're not going to worry me. But there was a particular female that comes from the clan that you see around the western side, so EP and Elephant Plains and Simambili, and that clan has a female in there who is absolutely massive. Her stomach is so herniated from all the young ones that she has that it almost drags on the ground, and she's huge, and she's a very kind of ginger color, so we used to call her Old Ginge, and she has no respect for any of the other cats. Barreling in at full speed. I think This big male leopard thought, this hyena is not going to come and hit me or try and bite me. It'll stop before it gets to me, and he thought wrong, because this hyena plowed straight into him at full speed, head first, and smashed him in the side. And as he was getting hit, he kind of made this awkward movement and managed to latch onto the tree, and he looked like a cat that had had water thrown on him. His tail was out and he was kind of locked onto the tree. It was very, very funny, but the collision and the force of that hyena hitting him was something unbelievable. Just, you could hear the weight behind her as she plowed into this poor male leopard, who looked very sorry for himself. Now, Anderson never looks very sorry for himself. He's normally got a very grumpy face, so it was quite entertaining to watch. And like I say, he was stuck to the tree for a bit, and luckily the hyena then moved off and he could jump up in it, get himself into a more comfortable position again. But it was quite a sighting. So hyenas are quite heavy animals, not as heavy as a lioness, but still, in a group together, you can imagine a lioness of 250, 300 pounds being attacked by a group of 8 big female hyenas. She's got no chance. She's just way outclassed by those hyenas together. So it's not easy to be a cat with lots of hyenas around, and it just shows you how effective the hyenas are at utilizing one another and their size to be able to intimidate everybody. So we're on a little sneaky road that we call Ingwe Alley. Now, Ingwe is the local name for a leopard, so I'm just having a look. It's always a nice place to go and have a look around. It's got lots of mud wallows, so great for buffalo and elephants and the likes. So while we do that, let's go back to Jamie and see what she's up to on her walk.
I'm on my way home, to be completely honest with you. It is nearly the end of the sunrise safari, and I have to wonder what the sunset safari holds for us this afternoon. Brian, will you be walking again this afternoon?
Yep.
You will be?
Yep.
What would you like to see on foot this afternoon, Brian? Pangolin! Okay, Brian's got some serious dreams there. It's good to have dreams, Brian. We encourage dreams. You must always reach for the stars. Maybe not for pangolins, though. On foot, Brian.
Yes.
Yes. 2. Oh my goodness, not 1 but 2 pangolin. How very exciting that shall be. I have no idea. Apparently something's creeping in on the left of frame. Is there something creeping? Is it me? Is it me? I can't see. What's that? I thought it was an animal. I thought it was an animal. I thought when Louise said to me something's creeping in on the left of frame, I had this vision of something stalking, creeping behind me. I'm deeply relieved that that is not the case. I have a feeling it was that cable, Brian. Can you imagine? And Karula creeping in on the edge of frame just towards the end of the sunrise safari. It would be a nice way to finish, actually. It wouldn't be the first time. I've had Karula in one of these marula trees on my way home once. It was a lovely surprise. Aubrey and I were equally as taken aback. And on that note, it is time to do our farewells and our thank yous. So thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Jamie.
For your wonderful steady camera work. Marvelously steady, considering you are on foot and the camera is all handheld. And then thank you to Lou and Kirsty in Final Control for keeping us under control. Luckily for us, we're about to encounter Opar on the road. That's not the way we wanted to finish the show, but we'll do our best to finish as quickly as possible. Thank you to all of you for joining us. We will catch you on the Sunrise Safari. Bye-bye, everybody, and have a lovely day.